Your baby has been reading you since the very first second they open their eyes, not with words, not with logic, with something far older, far more precise, and far more honest than anything language could ever express. And right now, today, your baby is sending you signals you've probably been misreading, ignoring, or missing entirely. Not because you're a bad parent, but because nobody ever told you what those signals actually mean. By the time this video's over, you will understand why your baby does things that seemed completely random. You'll see behaviors that frustrated you or confused you in a completely different light, and you'll never look at your child the same way again. Welcome to Silent Baby Mind. Subscribe right now, because what you're about to learn today will permanently change the way you look at your child. Stay until the very last point, because where your baby chooses to look when they're scared is the most honest thing they will ever show you about how safe they feel in this world, and it might just change everything about the way you respond to them. Let's start with the one that catches almost every new parent off guard. 1. You talk to your baby constantly, and your baby looks away. You're right there, face to face, telling them you love them, making sounds, trying to connect, and they turn their head. They look at the wall, they look at the ceiling. They look anywhere but at you, and your first instinct is to feel slightly rejected, maybe even worried. Is something wrong? Are they not interested in me? Here's what's actually happening, and it will completely change how you see that moment. Babies are not turning away from you. They are managing an overwhelming nervous system that is still, at this stage of development, essentially in construction mode. The human brain at birth is only about 25% of its adult size. The visual cortex, the emotional regulation centers, the areas responsible for processing social interaction, none of them are fully online yet. Every single face-to-face interaction your baby has is neurologically intense in a way that adults literally cannot replicate or fully comprehend. When your baby looks away, developmental researchers call it self-regulation. It is not rejection, it is recovery. Your baby is saying, in the only language their body currently has, I need 1 second to process everything that just happened, and then I'll come back to you. Studies in infant cognitive development have consistently shown that babies who are allowed to look away and return on their own schedule during face-to-face interaction actually develop stronger social engagement patterns over time than babies whose caregivers persistently tried to recapture their gaze the moment they looked away. The move that changes everything here is simple. When your baby looks away, pause, go quiet, give them the space, and watch what happens next. In most cases, within just a few seconds, they'll turn back to you. And when they do, that return is not accidental. That is your baby choosing you. That is engagement on their own terms, which is the only kind of engagement that actually builds the neural pathways for connection. 2. Your baby is screaming and you've checked everything. They're fed, they're dry, they're not too hot, not too cold, and they're still crying. So you pick them up, you bounce, you shush, you walk, you try the pacifier, you try the swing. Nothing works. And somewhere in the back of your exhausted mind, a thought creeps in. Am I doing something wrong? Why can't I fix this? Here's the truth that nobody puts on the parenting apps. Sometimes your baby is not crying because something is wrong that can be fixed. Sometimes your baby is crying because their nervous system needs to discharge accumulated stress, and crying is the only mechanism they currently have to do it. Newborns and young infants spend every waking hour absorbing sensory input that their brains are not yet equipped to filter. Light, sound, temperature, touch, hunger signals, gas, the feeling of clothing on skin, all of it comes in at full volume with no internal dimmer switch. Over the course of a day, that input accumulates, and at some point, The system has to reset. Researchers who study infant crying patterns have identified what's called a fussiness curve, a predictable arc in daily crying behavior that peaks in the late afternoon and early evening for most babies in the first several weeks of life. This pattern has been documented across different cultures and parenting styles, which tells us something important. It's not about what the parent is or isn't doing. It is a biological process that the baby needs to move through. What actually helps during these moments is not solving a problem, because there isn't a solvable problem. What helps is presence. A calm, regulated caregiver holding a crying baby without panic, without urgency, without the energy of someone desperately trying to make it stop, is giving that baby something profoundly valuable: the experience of being safe while feeling overwhelmed. Over time, that experience becomes the foundation of emotional resilience. You are not failing when you can't stop the crying. You are succeeding every single time you stay calm and stay present while it moves through. 3. You hand your baby to someone they've never met, a grandparent, a family friend, a neighbor, and your baby loses it completely. Full meltdown. Red face, tears, reaching back for you. And everyone in the room laughs nervously and says, "Oh, they have stranger anxiety," like it's a phase to be managed or apologized for. But here's what's actually happening in your baby's brain. And it's not anxiety in the way adults experience it. It's something far more sophisticated. Between approximately 6 and 9 months of age, something remarkable happens in infant cognitive development. Babies develop what researchers call object permanence, the understanding that things continue to exist even when they can't be seen. And alongside that, they develop what's called person permanence, the deep internal knowledge that you, their primary caregiver, are a specific, irreplaceable individual who is different from all other individuals. Before this development, all faces were more or less equally new. After it, your face means something that no other face means. You are safe. You are known. You are the one who has always been there. And every face that is not yours carries a degree of uncertainty that the baby's nervous system now has the capacity to recognize and respond to. So when your baby cries with a stranger, they are not being antisocial or difficult. They are demonstrating, for the first time, that they know exactly who you are. That response, as inconvenient as it can feel in the moment, is one of the most beautiful neurological milestones in human development. It means the attachment is real. The most supportive thing you can do is not force the interaction. Don't hand them off and walk away hoping they'll adjust. Stay visible. Let your baby see you while they're being held by someone new. Your presence in their visual field is a regulation tool. Once they can see that you're still there, that you haven't disappeared, the nervous system often settles on its own. 4. Your baby is playing. They pick up a toy, shake it, drop it, pick it up again, drop it on purpose, look at you, drop it again. And you think, why do they keep dropping things? Is this a game? Am I supposed to keep picking it up? And after the 14th time, it stops feeling cute and starts feeling like a test of patience. It is not a test of your patience, it is literally science. What you are watching in real time is your baby running experiments. Developmental psychologists describe this stage of exploratory behavior as sensoromotor learning, the process by which infants build their first understanding of cause and effect, physics, and the relationship between their own actions and the world's responses. When your baby drops that toy and looks at you, they are not being manipulative. They are forming a hypothesis and waiting for data. What happens when I let go of this thing? Does it always fall? Does it make a sound? What does the person who loves me do in response? Every single repetition teaches them something that their growing brain logs and builds upon. Research in early childhood learning has shown that repetitive exploratory play of this kind, especially when a caregiver responds consistently and warmly, is directly linked to stronger problem-solving skills and greater cognitive flexibility later in development. In other words, every time you pick up that toy with a smile, you are doing more for your child's brain development than most structured educational activities could ever accomplish. The rule here is not to manage the repetition. The rule is to understand that the repetition is the point. 5. Your baby stares at you while you're eating, not at the food necessarily, at your face, at your mouth, at the way your jaw moves and your expressions change as you chew and talk and react to whatever is happening at the table. And they are absolutely riveted. This is not coincidence. And it is not simply about wanting what's on your plate. Babies are, from the very earliest weeks, hardwired to study faces. The human face is the single most complex and information-rich visual stimulus in a baby's environment. It moves, it changes, it makes sounds, it expresses states that directly affect the baby's own safety and well-being. Researchers have found that newborns prefer the human face over virtually all other visual stimuli, and that this preference is present almost from the moment of birth. But there is something even more specific happening when your baby watches your face during an emotional moment, during laughter, during a heated exchange, during a moment of surprise or delight. They are performing what developmental scientists call social referencing. They are reading your emotional response to calibrate their own. Is this situation safe? Is this thing good or bad? Should I feel excited or worried? They look to your face for the answer, because your face has been the most reliable source of information about the world since the moment they arrived in it. This means that your emotional expression during ordinary moments has a direct, measurable impact on how your baby learns to respond to the world around them. A parent who expresses curiosity and openness in new situations teaches their baby, through expression alone, that new things are interesting rather than threatening. A parent whose face tightens with anxiety during something unfamiliar teaches the baby that unfamiliar things are dangerous before the baby has any direct evidence of their own. You are, every single day, writing the first emotional vocabulary your child will ever have, not with words, with your face. 6. This is the one everything else has been building toward. Your baby is upset. Something scared them. A loud sound, a stranger, a fall, a moment of pain. And in the immediate aftermath of that fright, before the crying even fully starts, there's a fraction of a second where your baby does something that most parents never consciously notice because it happens so fast. They look for you, not toward a sound, not at the thing that scared them, directly, specifically, immediately at you. Their head turns, their eyes find your face, and everything that happens next, how intensely they cry, how quickly they calm, how completely they recover, flows directly from what they find when they get there. This behavior has a name in developmental psychology. It is called secure base behavior, and it is the clearest, most direct window into the attachment relationship between a caregiver and a child. The research behind it, much of which traces back to the foundational work of developmental psychologist Mary Ainsworth, shows that babies who have formed a secure attachment to their primary caregiver use that caregiver as a home base, a fixed point of safety they can return to, visually and physically, whenever the world becomes too much. When your baby looks for your face in a moment of fear, they are not being weak. They are not being needy. They are doing the most neurologically sophisticated thing their brain is currently capable of, seeking a regulated, safe, familiar presence to help their own overwhelmed nervous system return to baseline. And the extraordinary part is this: what they find matters enormously. A caregiver who sees that frightened look and responds with a calm face, open arms, a warm and steady voice, is giving that baby something that cannot be replicated by any toy, any app, any program, or any structured activity. They are giving the baby the lived, embodied experience of, I was scared, and I looked for someone, and they were there, and I'm okay now. That experience, repeated across hundreds and then thousands of moments over the first years of life, becomes the internal architecture of the child's relationship with the world. It becomes the foundation of confidence, of resilience, of the capacity to handle adversity. Babies who receive that response consistently don't become dependent. They become brave. Because they have a safe place to return to, they are free to go further. And babies who look in that moment of fear and find a face that is distracted or tense or dismissive or simply absent, those babies don't stop needing. They just stop expecting. And that quiet resignation, that early learning that looking for comfort doesn't work, is what researchers track forward into anxiety, into difficulty with trust, into a harder relationship with the world. None of this is about perfection. No parent can be present and calm in every single moment. The research is actually remarkably forgiving on this point. What matters is not a perfect score. What matters is what researchers call the repair, the return after a missed moment to connection. A parent who is distracted and then comes back, who is frustrated and then softens, who misses the look once and catches it the next time. The repair is the teaching. The repair is what the baby's brain learns from. Every single day is full of moments, ordinary, quiet, unscripted moments where your baby is watching you, reading you, calibrating against you. The way you look up when they fall, the way your face changes when they bring you something to see, the steadiness of your presence when they're scared, the warmth in your expression when they look for you across a room. You don't need to be extraordinary. You need to be there and available and soft enough in those moments that your baby's nervous system learns. This is a safe world. This person will come. I can look up when I'm afraid, and I will find them. And one day, not dramatically, not with fanfare, but quietly and completely, you will see your child walk into something new without looking back first. Not because they've stopped needing you, because they've so deeply internalized the safety of your presence that they carry it with them now wherever they go. That is the whole goal. That is what all of these small, daily, forgettable-looking moments are actually building. Now you know what your baby has been trying to tell you all along. If this video changed the way you see your child, please share it with someone who loves their baby but doesn't know what their baby is really trying to say. Hit that like button so more parents can find this. Subscribe to Silent Baby Mind right now, because this is exactly the kind of content we bring you every single week. And leave a comment below. Tell me which of these behaviors you've noticed in your baby and how it looks different to you now. I read every single one. See you in the next video.